A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India's strategic diplomacy continues to deliver results even amid global uncertainty. The successful arrival of the Nanda Devi LPG tanker at Vadinar port in Gujarat just a day after Shivalik highlights India's growing capability to secure vital energy supplies through sensitive and high-risk maritime routes. Navigating through the conflict-hit Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical and volatile trade corridors, both vessels underscore the effectiveness of India's diplomatic reach and coordination at the international level. Take a look.
India's agile and forward-looking diplomacy is once again proving decisive in times of global crisis, ensuring that critical national interests remain protected even in high-risk zones. In a rare and significant move, Iran granted safe passage to two Indian-flagged LPG tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, despite tight restrictions affecting global energy flows. Both vessels, Shivalik and Nanda Devi, successfully completed their journey and reached Vadinar port in Gujarat. The transit was carried out under close coordination with Indian Navy support, ensuring safe navigation through this sensitive corridor. The breakthrough follows a high-level conversation between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Iranian President, focusing on maintaining the flow of energy supplies.
जो भी हमने किया है पिछले कुछ दिनों में, हमारी जो वेसल्स आई हैं, हमारी तरफ से हमारे लिहाज से बहुत बड़ा अचीवमेंट है, क्योंकि उसको उसके ऊपर सैबोटाज करना या उसके ऊपर आक्रमण करना ज़्यादा मुश्किल नहीं है. उसके लिए ना कोई बहुत बड़ी मिसाइल चाहिए. द काइंड ऑफ वेपन्स यू नीड टू सैबोटाज एंड टू क्रिएट इंश्योरेंस रिस्क इज़ नॉट मच. सो ईरान या कोई और भी है वो कर सकता है. तो इस प्रकार इसको मद्देनज़र रखते हुए जो जहाँ तक अब तक की बात है उसमें हमारा अचीवमेंट अच्छा खासा है.
According to reports, around 22 Indian vessels are currently in or near the strait, including LPG carriers, an LNG tanker, crude oil vessels, chemical carriers, container ships, and bulk carriers. The successful transit of these vessels underscore India's calibrated approach, combining quiet diplomacy with strategic assurance on the ground. By maintaining open communication channels with key regional players while deploying naval support, India has demonstrated its ability to safeguard national interests without escalating tensions.
We import LPG. Out of 90,000 tons every day we import 60,000 tons, majority from Qatar. We are getting some exemptions, but if there is no production, where will Qatar even send to us?
In the recent times, the contacts India has had at the highest level with various stakeholders in the Gulf have intensified. This is due to a variety of reasons. Firstly, India is an important stakeholder in what's going on in the neighborhood. Secondly, these countries are important for India as a neighbor each. And thirdly, we have very substantive stakes with these countries, including nearly 1 crore Indians living there, dependence on fuels, fertilizer supplies from this area, as well as strong export markets in this area offered to India.
India's response has been measured and deliberate, urging restraint, safeguarding economic interests, and maintaining open channels with all stakeholders. Amid rising tensions, India's balanced approach, blending diplomacy with preparedness, not only secures its energy lifelines, but also reinforces its role as a stabilizing force in a volatile region.
Moving on. The impact of escalating tensions in the Middle East is now being felt far beyond the region, with Sri Lanka introducing fuel rationing as a precautionary measure against possible supply disruptions. While authorities say current stocks remain stable, the move highlights the island nation's vulnerability to global energy shocks and its dependence on imported fuel.
The government of Sri Lanka has reintroduced fuel rationing not in response to an immediate shortage, but as a precautionary strategy amid rising uncertainty in global oil markets driven by geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. As a fuel import-dependent economy, Sri Lanka remains particularly vulnerable to disruptions in key maritime supply routes and sudden price volatility, especially as instability threatens critical global energy corridors. The impact of these measures was quickly visible on the ground, with motorists forming long, sneaking queues outside petrol stations. While the policy aims to safeguard reserves and stabilize supply, many drivers expressed frustration over prolonged waiting times, underscoring the immediate human cost of broader geopolitical disruptions.
දැන් පාන්දර අතරමාට ඉඳලා තව වෙනකන් ගෙදර ළමයි උදේ කෑවද නැද්ද ළමයි ඉස්කෝලේටත් ගියේ නැහැ. දැන් මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තර දෙන්න කොහොමද?
අපි ඇනවුම් කරපුවා අපිට නිශ්චිත වෙච්ච තියෙනවා ලබන මාසේ අවසානයේ වෙන තෙක් කියලා. අපිට ඒ ඇනවුම් ඒ විදිහටම ලැබෙමින් පවතිනවා. ඒකින්ද ලබන මාසේ අවසන් වෙනකන් අපේ තෙල් පිළිබඳ කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ආර්ථිකයේ කිසිම දෙයකට මේකෙන් ගැටලුවක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ තෙල් අපිට කියන්න බෑ යුද්ධය යන විදියට කවද ඉවර වෙයිද මොන විදියට ඇති වෙයිද මොන සැපයුම් මාර්ග අවහිර වෙයිද කියලා. එහෙම වුණොතින් අපිට ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඉදිරියේදී ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් අවදානම් තත්වයකට මුහුණ දෙන්න තමයි අපි මේ පෙර සූදානමක් ඇති කරගන්නේ.
President Anurag Kumara Dissanayake has convened high-level discussions to assess the broader economic and logistical implications of the conflict. Officials are focusing on contingency planning, including demand management strategies such as digital fuel quotas and remote working models aimed at reducing pressure on limited energy resources. Analysts say such measures reflect a shift from crisis response to risk anticipation, as Colombo seeks to avoid a repeat of the 2022 economic collapse triggered in part by foreign exchange shortages and fuel scarcity.
ගාන නම් මදි ඒ වුණාට පොඩ්ඩක් පාලනයක් තියෙනවා. මේ ඒක තමයි කියන්න තියෙන පාලනය කරලා දෙන එක හොඳයි කියලා.
නමුත් ඒ පාර්ශවයක් ඉන්නවා එහෙම පෙට්‍රෝල් අරන් තියාගෙන ඉන්න මිනිස්සු. ඒ වගේ වැඩ නොකරව ඉන්න මේ QR සිස්ටම් එක හොඳයි.
Sri Lanka's weekly fuel quota system, limiting cars and three-wheelers to 15 litres, buses to 60 and trucks to 200, underscores the balancing act between conserving reserves and sustaining economic activity. The reintroduction of the QR code system also signals an attempt to maintain transparency and prevent black marketing activity, a major issue during previous crises.
ලෝක යුද්ධයක් පටන් අරගත්තට අපිටයි ඔක්කොටම මේක උනේ කෙලුනේ. අපිට බොහොම අමාරුයි කීයක් කරේ හොයාගන්න. පෝලිං වල තමයි උදේ ඉඳලා ඉන්නේ.
QR එක නම් ගොඩක් හොඳයි මේක ටීවී එකට දෙන ප්‍රමාණය මදි. ඉතින් කිලෝ 25ක් විතර පහ ගානේ දවසට දවස් 5ටවත් 25ක්වත් තිබ්බනම් හොඳයි.
The situation underscores a broader geopolitical reality. Smaller, import-dependent economies like Sri Lanka are often the first to feel the downstream effects of distant conflicts. While Colombo's early intervention may help immediate shocks, the long-term solutions lies in diversifying energy sources, strengthening reserves, and reducing reliance on volatile global supply chains. As uncertainty in the Middle East persists, Sri Lanka's response may serve as a test case for how vulnerable economies navigate an increasingly unpredictable global energy landscape.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Anutin Charnvirakul was re-elected Thailand's Prime Minister after sailing through a parliamentary vote, winning a fresh mandate that could usher in a rare period of stability for a country long plagued by political drama and turmoil. The Bhum Jai Thai party's Anutin becomes the first Thai premier to be voted back to office in 2 decades, underlining the upheaval that has dogged Southeast Asia's second largest economy. Nepal celebrated its annual horse festival Ghode Jatra with a parade to honor the animal that holds mythological importance in Nepalese culture. The legend in Nepal has it that some horses trampled a demon called Tundi, setting on the celebration. The horse parade is carried out to suppress the spirit of the demon. Taking out his procession is believed to bring good governance, win the trust of people, fear of the bad spirits and evils, said a member of the community. Locals cheered as the garland-wearing man paraded the horse through the city's temples and streets. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said she would remind US President Donald Trump what Japan can and cannot do regarding the Middle East situation ahead of the summit in Washington. Takaichi is the first major ally set for face-to-face talks with Trump since he demanded that Japan, among a coalition of nations, send ships to escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz waterway, largely closed by Iran in the conflict.
Amid rising tensions along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, allegations of civilian casualties and human rights violations have intensified global concern. Reports of a deadly airstrike in Kabul, coupled with claims of enforced disappearances and excessive force, have put Pakistan under increasing scrutiny. The developments have raised serious questions about accountability and adherence to international law. Take a look.
Tensions along the Afghanistan and Pakistan border are escalating, with the region witnessing increased instability and military activity. In a shocking development, reports claim that a Pakistani airstrike struck a hospital in Kabul, killing at least 400 people and injuring around 250 others. The incident has raised serious concerns over civilian safety and adherence to international law. The allegations have drawn attention at the 61st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, where activists have flagged what they describe as a pattern of escalating cross-border actions. Speaking on the sidelines of the UNHRC session, Pashtun human rights defender Fazl-ur-Rahman Afridi accused Pakistan of repeatedly violating international norms.
Everybody knows that Pakistan is conducting, thousands of operations it has already conducted in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan. And particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, recently, due to some tensions between the Taliban regime and the Pakistan, that has escalated further, and Pakistan has started, attacking, the Afghan territory, which is actually the violation of, international law. And in most of the cases, there in Afghanistan also, innocent civilians are the target of Pakistani military, which is really concerning for us.
Amid escalating tensions, serious concerns are emerging over Pakistan's conduct in conflict-affected regions. Multiple reports point to a disturbing pattern of enforced disappearances, arbitrary detentions, and civilian casualties linked to security operations. These actions have raised critical questions over Pakistan's commitment to international law and the protection of basic human rights. The situation paints a worrying picture of unchecked operations with little regard for civilian safety.
We have received an alarming increase in the enforced disappearances of the Pashtun and Baloch people. I'll talk about Pashtun because I personally received very confirmed data of the people who have been, disappeared. And I have personally, deposited through special procedure, more than 15 cases of confirmed enforced disappearances of the Pashtun people. And there are a lot more which are coming, which are in the pipeline. because unfortunately we don't have complete information to submit it to the special procedures, but the data is in hundreds. So these people are forcibly disappeared. When a person is forcibly disappeared, that means he is tortured in the interrogation centers of the ISI and the military intelligence of the Pakistan Army. And in most of the cases, these forcibly disappeared people are killed by Pakistan.
The developments have also intensified scrutiny on Pakistan's military establishment and its role in the ongoing crisis. Concerns over excessive use of force, lack of accountability, and systemic abuses continue to surface, particularly in volatile regions. Analysts warn that without strict oversight and corrective measures, such actions risk further destabilizing the region. The absence of accountability mechanisms remain a key challenge in addressing these concerns.
The most important thing to stop these grave human rights violations committed by the Pakistani state, particularly the all-powerful and rogue Pakistani military, it's important that those persons and those institutions, particularly the Pakistani army, should be held accountable. Because until or unless this institution is not held accountable, they will continue these human rights violations with impunity. And particularly the ordinance, action in aid of civil power, which gives enormous powers to these military organizations, that is also a very important instrument which violates the basic fundamental rights of the Pashtun people in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. That should be annulled, and pressure should be put on Pakistani government and the judiciary and the parliament to remove this ordinance immediately.
As allegations continue to mount, Pakistan finds itself under increasing global scrutiny for its actions, with growing attention on both its cross-border conduct and internal security operations. From escalating tensions along international borders to persistent concerns within its own territories, a pattern of behavior is emerging that raises serious questions about its commitment to regional peace and stability. Repeated instances of military assertiveness and controversial operations have only deepened fears of further destabilization in an already fragile region.
Devotees across India mark the beginning of Navratri with deep faith and vibrant rituals, offering prayers to Goddess Durga, symbolizing strength and the triumph of good over evil. Temples witnessed long queues as worshippers sought blessings on this auspicious day. The 9-day festival also signals the Hindu New Year with fasting, devotion and strict dietary practices observed by thousands, reflecting spiritual discipline and cultural tradition across the country.
Devout Hindus across India throng temples on the first day of the 9-night-long Navratri festival dedicated to Goddess Durga. From early morning, chants of devotional hymns echoed through the temple premises as devotees gathered in large numbers to seek divine blessings. Idols of the goddess, beautifully adorned with fresh flowers, traditional attire and intricate ornaments, became the center of devotion. Referring to the goddess as the supreme embodiment of power, devotees stood in long queues, some waiting for hours just to catch a glimpse of the deity. According to Hindu mythology, Goddess Durga represents Shakti, the divine feminine energy that nurtures, protects, and ultimately destroys evil. The beginning of Navratri also marks the onset of the Hindu New Year in many regions, making the occasion even more significant. It is a time for spiritual reflection, new beginnings, and reaffirmation of faith.
इतना अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है, मतलब हम क्या बताएं, मतलब दिल से और हर जगह से रोम रोम से यही हो रहा है कि जय माता दी, माता का दर्शन करना है बस.
Temples across cities and towns witnessed an overwhelming turnout, with special arrangements made to manage the large influx of devotees. At prominent temples, including those dedicated to various incarnations of Durga, devotees offered prayers not just for personal well-being but also for peace, prosperity and the progress of the nation.
माँ झड़ने वाली देवी जी के दर्शनों के लिए आए हैं और अपनी अपनी मनोवांछित कामनाओं की पूर्ति के लिए माँ झंडे वाली देवी जी से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि हे माँ, हमारा जीवन, हमारा ये वर्ष सुखमय बीते, हमारा देश प्रगति के पथ पर अग्रसर हो, यही सारी कामनाएं लेकर लोग माँ के चरणों में आए हैं।
चैत्र नवरात्रि में हम लोग यही दुआ मांगते हैं कि जो युद्ध वगैरह चल रहा है वो मतलब जल्दी से जल्दी बंद हो जाए और सबको मतलब अपने परिवार के लिए, अपने पढ़ाई लिखाई के लिए मतलब हम लोग आगे बढ़ते रहें।
Beyond rituals, Navratri also reflects the deep cultural roots and unity of Indian society. Families come together, communities organize devotional events, and the spirit of positivity and hope resonates across the country.
नवरात्रि का तो बहुत ही खास महत्व है, मतलब कि माँ के मंदिर में आते ही कुछ अलग सी ही फीलिंग आती है और ऐसा लगता है कि माँ साक्षात है, ऐसा लगता है।
For many, the festival is not just about worship but also about inner strength, discipline and faith in overcoming challenges. As the 9 sacred nights unfold, the spirit of devotion, discipline and celebration continues to unite millions across India, reinforcing faith in the eternal victory of good over evil.
Navratri marks a sacred journey of discipline, devotion and inner cleansing. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.